Henry Davis, though, I want to talk to you about him because I think a lot of us believe the hit tool's there. Defensively, though, like, is the catcher position a legit potential position for him?
It definitely wasn't good in the fall league. Fall league catcher looks are tough because in most cases, these guys have played the whole year. Now, Davis was hurt a bunch, so that's not true for him. And also, you're coming here for 6 weeks to catch a whole new staff of guys who you don't know. And you're doing it like twice a week, and that's it. So it is hard to evaluate and like be a catcher in the Arizona Fall League. So, put on a bunch of the tape of Davis catching during the year. The throwing accuracy is the thing that is not good. Like the other stuff he's doing, it has never been good, but he's always had a huge arm. And so you're like, all right, he'll get to a point where it's okay. Again, we were talking about it before, the types of catchers like body-wise that tend to break late and be durable and this and that. That's Henry Davis, right? And so at Louisville, this guy had a monster, plus arm, but just his throwing accuracy is terrible right now. And so there's a site, it's a Japanese website called Deltagraphs. It's like the Japanese Fangraphs. It's awesome. They have like a newsletter that you can, translate in your Gmail or whatever. It's pretty cool. They did a study a couple years ago about catcher pop times, and like there's a threshold where your catcher pop time is fine, and then all that matters in like a tenth of a second window between like 1.95 and 205 in that like pop time window is your accuracy. That's all that matters like in that window. And so he needs to find a way to be, his footwork really has him offline from the bag. And so that's an important detail that he's going to have to polish, but it is like a detail. There's rare offensive ability for a catcher here. Again, like the power is real. Didn't really show in 2022. I think that he had as many, he was beamed as many times as he had extra base hits in 2022. But
First
when
pitch
guys,
of spring.
what was that?
First pitch in spring, hit by pitch.
Oh yeah, no doubt. Like he's so on top of the plate, and now like part of the reason that he didn't have big power output in 2022, in my opinion, and I read about this in his blurb, is because he had fractured wrist and it was bothering him even after he returned. You see guys who have broken hamate or something, a wrist fracture, something happens to their hand or wrist. And it takes months and months before the power's back to normal. And you see them like going into that bucket of rice and trying to like re-strengthen their hands. And so, because in the past there have been other catching prospects around baseball, MJ Melendez, Bo Naylor, they had awful seasons in the mid minors for like, no apparent reason, just terrible, like hitting a $180. I'm not exaggerating. And then, the next year, MJ Melendez like led the minors in home runs, and he's another one of those guys who can like catch and do other stuff. And Bo Naylor, had an incredible 2022, and like Cleveland put him on the 40-man. And so the rule of thumb in the scouting community with catchers is you got to take the long view. These guys are taking a beating. Stuff happens. Their offensive performance is going to wax and wane more than at other positions. And so, I didn't really come off of Henry Davis at all from my pre-draft evaluation, even though his 2022 was meh. I had a pro scouting director who saw a lot of Henry Davis in the fall league say underwhelming. Like for a first pick in the draft, very underwhelming to him. But the context of the look, again, fall league catcher, this guy's dealt with wrist injuries all year. The way he crowds the plate, he's always going to get beamed. And so maybe, he's exposing himself to more of this stuff than he has to. But because he's trying to pull everything, he wants to be on top of the plate so he can pull stuff on the outer third. Like he is just, sometimes you'll see him work away, but he really is just trying to yank everything. And I get it because he's so strong. And I do think it's going to work eventually. But there are going to be issues. He's not a perfect player. And I do think, I want a situation where like he and Endy are both getting like 400 plate appearances. And I think the fact that the universal DH exists and that Endy can play other positions allows, like, there's not really a logjam here that like the two of them together, I think is going to be a nice fit.
You all, thank you for watching. I know we try to provide the most entertaining content that we can, and we'd love to spread it to as many people as possible. So I know it doesn't seem like a lot, but if you could take the 5 seconds to like this video and subscribe to the page, it helps out so much more than you know. Thank you, and let's go Bucks.